one-to-many, for instance, we have these examples where we have a faculty having authored many courses, a faculty teaching several sections. This is not necessarily redundant because the same person who authors the course, not necessarily the same person who teaches it, right? And you know, it might be that I teach a section, I author the course, I teach a section, and several other folks teach a different section of the same course. And again, in a relational database, you have basically two choices to do this, right? In a relational database, the way you could implement it is the classical way is to have the many side, right, have a foreign key that references the primary key of the one side, right? So the course would have a foreign key saying, oh, he's my author, right? Or the section might say, oh, he's teaching this section, right? Or she, or whatever. The other alternative is to have a many-to-many, right? Where we might say that, you know, that faculty is the author of those courses over there, right? That one would be much more generic, which will allow you to even do, you know, many faculty authored many courses, right? So, but yes, those are the two options. In a non-relational database such as Mongo, you still can do that. You can still have the section having sort of a foreign key that references the ID of the parent, or you can have the other alternative, right? You can have you know, faculty having an array of all the sections that they're teaching, right? They're teaching section 1, section 2, and whatnot, or the courses that they have authored, course 1, course 2. Now, this is actually a much better solution, right, than having this solution of having the foreign key, right, because it's all here. There's no need to join anything, and the data is readily available here. And notice that you don't have the bidirectionality problem that we saw earlier, right, where they were both pointing to each other. And right now, it only goes one way. From the faculty goes down to the section. From the faculty goes down to the courses. The courses don't need to know anything about their parent, right, which is perfect. So this is much more intuitive. An even better solution is that instead of storing here the IDs of the sections or the courses that we're teaching and whatnot, you could actually embed the entire object, right, the entire object inside of the array. Right? So the object sections, courses, whatnot, would not exist outside of this array, right? And that depends on whether that makes sense to you or not, right? If this were a filled-in diamond, right, where you have a composition, right, then it would make sense that course only exists inside of a faculty, right? Which notice that this is not a composition, an aggregation. Thank you. So that means that the life cycle of this object does not depend on the life cycle of this object. If this goes away, the course does exist, right? That means that this needs to exist outside of faculty. I should be able to still retrieve the course even if I don't know the faculty, right? But if this were, for instance, a course is made up of, you know, of multiple modules. Each module is made up of many sections. Each section is made up of many lessons and whatnot, right? Those might be compositions, right? Meaning that if you remove the course, all the modules are lost, all the lessons or the topics, those are all lost. And that makes sense, right? And so in those cases, then yes, it would make sense that the instances of the lessons and whatnot would live, you know, part of the parent, right? That they don't exist on their own. They only exist within their parent. That makes sense? So depending on whether you need these objects to exist outside of their parent, then you would use this strategy, right, where you have references to the original objects. But so if it's aggregation, right, you would follow this strategy. If it's a composition, right, this would be a better solution, right, where the objects will live instances inside, embedded inside. Yes, and actually. Mongo, in their documentation, they suggest that this is the preferred way of storing data in their database. Right? So where you store, you know, huge objects that contain other objects, entire objects, right? As opposed to the way you would do in a relational database where you split it up into multiple collections and multiple tables. Here it would be one collection, the faculty collection, or the module collection, whatnot, right, that contains all the nested objects inside. Okay? Again, you would use one strategy or another depending on the life cycle dependency between the objects. So this is the classical representation where you have the children referring to their parent. So here it is, right? Where you have you set the sections and then you point to the faculty who's teaching this section. Or the preferred way, if you have, I had examples, I forgot. Right, so you have a composition here where you have courses that contain modules, that contain lessons, that contain topics, right? They can be embedded inside of the course, embedded inside of the modules, where you would have, you would have objects topic inside of their own lessons, and then the lessons themselves inside of the modules, and then the modules themselves inside of the course, right? You would have courses, you have many courses. Each course has many modules. Each module has many lessons, right? If you remove the course, everything goes away, right? The modules, the lessons, everything goes away, right? And this is the preferred way. If you can get away with it, right? If your logic allows it, this is what Mongo would suggest, the way you store data internally. So let's create a couple of modules. So for instance, you could let's insert a brand new modules, module 1. There it is. And we can retrieve the modules right now, because we have just that one module with a lesson inside. With lessons, you notice it's an array, and right now it has one lesson. We can add another lesson in there. We can push a brand new lesson in there. Right, so meaning, update the modules, whose module name is module 1, push into the lessons array this brand new object whose name is lesson 2. And if we display that, notice that now we have 2 objects instead of lessons embedded. Right, so this is using aggregation, composition. Right, if we remove the module, the lessons are gone. Right? Let's see. Let's keep going. Let's say if we can retrieve, we can navigate, the entire hierarchy from this root down to the nested objects. You can retrieve maybe a particular lesson, and so it allows you to navigate this. It says retrieve for me. Right, starting at modules, retrieve the module whose name is module 1. I only want the lessons. Right, I don't want anything else. Right, so these are the 2 lessons. The 2 lessons are there, right, for that particular module. I can update. I can say, hey, I want to add inside of lessons. Now I want to add a topic. Right, I want to go even further. Right. So this reads, find me the module whose name is module 1, and find me within that module, find me a lessons whose name is lesson 1. Right, so that adds an and on this, right? Once you find it, right, whatever lesson that is, I don't know which one is. I don't know if that's the first lesson, the second, the third, the fourth. I don't know which one it is because it's an array, right? I don't know which one, right? So this says modify the lessons array whose index I don't know. It could have been the first one, the second one, the third lesson. I don't know which one. So that's an index operator, right? Whichever one matches, right? I want to add a brand new topics. Right, and this is a topic whose name is topic 1. Right, so if we look at the lessons, you'll see that inside of notice that I only had 2 lessons. Now in the lesson number 1, notice that we have a new array in there that has a topic. So I can embed even further. I can go as deep as I want to make this more complex. To make this more complex, let's revisit this $sign operator, and the $sign operator has its limits, Right? It has its limits. You can't. There's a couple things you can't do. Let's to get started. Let's first try creating a course. So here's a course 1, and let's to that course, let's add an empty set of modules. Right. So let's see what that looks like. So we have one course, and right now it has an empty set of modules. So let's start adding things deeper and deeper. So let's add to the course 1. Let's push onto the modules array. Let's add a new object who's into the array modules that has a particular name, module 1. So let's copy that. And so, oh, it didn't. What happened? I'm sorry? Oh, I am. Oh, okay. I didn't finish the copy. Okay, let's do a find again. There it is. So now it was an empty array of modules. Now it contains one module, module 1, and I can push another module, yet another module. So there are. So we have 2 modules. Let's start adding more things in there. So let's add maybe a lesson in there. So find me in course 1 and module whose module is 1, module 1. I want to add a new lessons array that has an initial value of lesson 1. All right, so if we copy that and we paste that, there we have it, right? So to module 1, we added a new lessons array with lesson 1. Right? And we can add a new lesson if we want. But what I wanted to point out is the limitations, right? So now, we've gone from courses, we added our modules, and then for the module we added a lesson, and now to that lesson I want to add a topic, and this is where it breaks. This is where it breaks. If we follow the same pattern, you would think this would work, right? So if we read through this, it says, find me course 1, then find me module 1, then find me lesson 1. So that works. Up to this point, it works. It finds the lesson. Okay, I'm right there. What fails is this right here, modules. It knows which module, and it knows it's the first module, right? This second operator fails, right? The syntax does not support 2 index operators. It fails, saying that too many positional operators, right? Too many positional operators. If you know the location, meaning you know that this ID, this index, it's actually the first one, right? It's the first topic. I know it's the first topic. I'm telling you it's the first topic. Okay? Then this works, right? It does update. So if you know the position of where it is, this works. So if you do a find, notice that we were able to add a topic way down here, down in the lessons. All right? If you know where the position is. So this is where it breaks and it has some limitations, what you can possibly do here at the command line. And you start thinking about it, ideally I would use some kind of API, some kind of programming a library that would allow me to do this programmatically instead of doing it here at the command line, right? And that's exactly what we're going to do. Right, so instead of using the command line, we'll take a look at using a library such as Mongoose, right? And that's what we'll see next.